Alright then, time to catch up on FC Vaduz in the Swiss Super League. So we've already been through the summer transfer window, of course, and the whole Lorenz Kraus saga.
Here we go.
So let's focus directly on the domestic campaign. Despite the arrival of our new owners, the board's ambition was still saying avoiding relegation, but at least we've set our sights on the giddying heights of mid-table in future seasons. But after last season's screw job,
What the is this?
I'm setting my sights on top spot. Now, in the past 2 seasons, we had suffered slow starts as we negotiated European qualifying rounds. But this season, it was, well, no different really. We won our season opener over Winterthur, but then suffered 3 defeats on the bounce at Luzern, Lugano, and Young Boys. We managed a point in our final game of August against Zurich, but still we were wallowing near the wrong end of the table. But as I said, we've been here before in previous seasons, so things will turn around soon, I hope. Then they did, eventually. Only 2 league games in September, and both were draws. Only 2 games in October as well, but both were wins. And both late wins as well, with a Blumenthal stoppage time winner against St. Gallen, and a last-minute Fabio Fair strike to break the deadlock against Grasshoppers. And 2 more wins as we moved into November and started to put together a hot streak, with us slowly but surely climbing towards the top of the table. Now, let's pause at this point, mid-November, for a brief update on the new board and how things are going with them. And thankfully, it's good news as they've agreed to a number of investments, training facilities, youth facility upgrades, and junior coaching budget all set for improvements. And there's still a decent amount of money in the bank to spend as well. Our good form would continue up to the winter break. Zurich, our only defeat, but followed up by landmark wins over Young Boys and FC Basel in consecutive weeks. That put us 4th, but look at that, a mere 2 points covering the top 5. So we move now into the January transfer window, and they're coming for my strikers again. Now, of course, part of the reason I was willing to let Lorenz Kraus go to Juventus, there was, of course, the loan back, but perhaps a bigger reason was the presence of Fabio Burmester in the squad, who was being primed to take over from Lorenz Kraus up front. Rated highly by our backroom staff. In fact, rated as highly as Lorenzo Kraus, both in terms of current and potential ability, but also with a release clause in his contract that's starting to look a bit low, and now attracting a formal bid from Red Bull Salzburg. Luckily, the finances in this deal were not enough to trigger his release clause, but not so luckily much as with Lorenz Kraus, his agent just wasn't willing to talk about a new deal. So we're now going to skip ahead to March of 2027, and thankfully Fabio Burmester is still here, and oh, look at that, he's on a new contract. A hefty pay rise, a 4-year deal, but although the value is now set a little bit higher, we still couldn't get player or agent to drop that release clause demand. Anyway, let's leave all those transfer and contract sagas to one side for now and see how we finished the regular season in the Super League. In style, that's how. We started with a comeback win over Sion, Jankowitz fulfilling the Steve Bruce role in a 90s Man United Fergie time win. I mean, a 2-1 win with goals on 88 and 90 minutes. You gotta love it. We won 3 and drew 1 in February to not only give us a 9-game unbeaten streak, but also to catapult us into top spot, 4 points clear of Luzern and 11 clear of Young Boys, clearly suffering the consequences of denying us our title shot last season. Granted, Young Boys did get 1 over on us in the opening championship group stage game, but we then closed out the month of March unbeaten, now 6 points clear of second and with a game in hand on everyone from third down. Into April, we would play Young Boys once again, and we needed another late strike, this time from Fabio Fair, to earn ourselves a point in spite of an early sending off, and to stay 3 points ahead. Young Boys having somehow jumped up to second. We then went through a patch of mixed form, winning an absolute goalfest with St. Gallen, but then managing just a single point from our next 2 games. Worries of an end-of-season wobble were unfounded though, as we steadied the ship on our penultimate game with a huge win over Basel, all the fan-favourite names getting on the score sheet, meaning heading into the final round of fixtures we were still 3 points clear of Young Boys, so just a point was needed from St. Gallen to secure first place. After a tense 78 minutes with no goals, it looked like we might slip up as FC Vaduz old boy Dejan Djokic took advantage of some confusion in our defence. But then our new young hope Burmester snatched another late goal to earn us that vital point and first place in the championship group. So last season we finished second but were denied our place in the Champions playoff as young boys were handed the title. But surely this time, as we had won the league, we had topped the championship group, surely the Swiss FA would have to give us the title, or at least a playoff with young boys to have our chance to fight for it, right?
No way! I don't think so, pal. That's not how this works.
Of course not. Same news item, same no fixtures in the Champions playoff, and young boys handed the title. So yeah, congratulations, young boys. What an achievement. Now, of course, all of this is happening because FC Vaduz is not a Swiss team, and our route to Europe comes through the Liechtensteiner Cup. So find out how we fared in that competition and in the knockout rounds of the Europa League in the next episode.